Hey guys, if you're new to my channel, my name is Dean the Furniture Artist, and today we're going to be covering how to adjust drawers. I want to go ahead and apologize because I'm sure here in a minute I'm going to be dripping sweat because it's 106 today and it feels like 120 in here. Now it seems like I've been getting an influx of emails lately on drawer adjustments or drawers not sitting correct. So I figured it was a good time to do a video to cover it. Sometimes it can be kind of complicated to type it out and tell you how to repair something. So it's easier if I just show you. So I'm going to try to cover as many adjustments as I can today in this video. Now also, while we're talking about emails, if you could please send photos with your emails of the problem. It's so hard for me to understand when you just say, hey, I have a dresser that the drawer is sticking out on top. I want to get to everybody's emails and respond and try to help you out, but it'd really speed up the process if you could send photos in with your email when you have a problem. Thanks. Now, along with adjusting the drawers today, I'm also going to show you all how to put in drawer stops because I've got a handful of emails asking about those as well. Now, as you can see, I took a nightstand, opened it up so you can see what's going on. It'd be really complicated to try to get in here with a camera and show you what's going on with the track, so I just figured I would do this. Now, today's video is going to be covering drawers with a single center track, like this one. It could be metal on metal, it could be metal on wood, like you see here, it could be wood on wood. But all of the adjustments today will work for any of the center style tracks. Now the drawer that you're needing to repair has ball bearing tracks on the outside or one of those style tracks that sit on the outside. It's complete different adjustments. So today's video is just going to be about center style tracks. Now when I get a piece of furniture that has an issue with the drawer, I don't just immediately go to solving that issue. If the drawer is tilting out, I don't go to making adjustments to make it tilt back. I'm first going to look over the piece and see why it's sitting that way. Is there a broken component? Is there something wore out? Before I just start making adjustments. Because if there is, I'd rather just fix the component than band-aiding it, just adjusting to try to compensate for the broken part, if that makes sense. Now sometimes on wood parts, or if it's wood on metal, sometimes you just get wear and you have to make adjustments for that wear, and there's no way around it. But I'm going to try to cover as much of that as I can today. Now what you're going to run into a lot of times with those metal tracks on an older piece is once you get out about here, they're going to do this. Let me show you why it's doing that. Now you can already see, I'm sure, this is what our issue is. It should be sitting like this, not spread out like this. They probably had a lot of weight in this drawer, and over time, bringing it all the way out to the end, just slowly started bending these out until you got a sloppy drawer. Now these are pretty easy to fix. Now you got a couple options here to fix this problem. First being, you can of course order a new track. They're usually cut to fit. They'll come in like an 18 or 20 inch and you just cut it down to the size you need. It's got a single screw in the back. Sometimes they have staples in them. Then also sometimes they have a plastic drawer stop on the back here. I'll put a link to my other videos on how to replace those right here. And then you have a single screw up here in the front. You just cut it down and put your screw in to hold it in place. I like to cut these if possible. I like to cut these with a lip so they'll kind of slide in behind this panel. They'll just slide in about an 1/8 inch. That way it has a little bit more support than just the screw. Now if you feel pretty confident in your hammer skills, you can always just take and tap it back in place like that. Now luckily on this drawer, they notched out for this track to go in. Sometimes the tracks just set on the end here. If it didn't have this notch, it probably would have spread open as well. In that case, before I start hammering down on it, I'm going to pinch it and pull it back into where it needs to be. And then I'll go through and tap them down. But luckily we don't have to worry about it being spread out since it was put between this wooden notch. Now you can see how the drawers are shutting perfect. They're touching top and bottom whenever they close on both sides. This is ideal. This is always what you want. Now last week I had someone send me a photo of a drawer that was closing like this. Every time they open and shut it, it was only touching on the bottom, but it wasn't touching on the top. Now like I said before you just go to making adjustments, it could be a matter of having the wrong drawer and the wrong hole. A lot of these older pieces, the drawer was adjusted just for that pocket, and someone could have moved them around in the past. So what I would do is take them out and take another drawer and put it in that pocket and see if it sets better or the exact same. Now, if you tried every drawer that was possible in that pocket and it's still sitting the exact same way, it's a track issue, not an incorrect drawer issue. But I bet a lot of times you're going to find there's another drawer that fits in there perfectly. Okay, so again, the problem we have is the drawer is sticking out the top. It's touching the bottom, but it's not touching the top. So how can we fix this, and why is it doing it? Well, on a lot of older dressers, they actually used wood shims, and they would put a wood shim underneath the track to adjust it if it was too low. Now, of course, over time, that wood shim could have came out, broke, whatever. Now, a good indicator that it had a wood shim underneath it at one time is you can reach back here and grab the track, and it's loose. Now, if the issue you're running into is like this one, where the top of the drawer is not touching, but the bottom of the drawer is, that means the back of the track is too high. You can, of course, go through, try to take some of this material out and get the track to set down lower, or you can go through and just shim the front of the track and get this track to set level. All right, let's do the opposite now. Let's say that we're touching at the top, but we're not touching at the bottom. That means our drawer, instead of setting level, our drawer is setting like this. So what we need to do is go and shim the rear of the track to get it to set level so that it shows perfect. Also, while I'm thinking about it, this DeWalt 90 bit has a magnetic end where you can put all your tips in. This is going to make life much easier when you're having to do adjustments like this. Of course, trying to get your drill in here to get to the screw can be complicated and difficult. You could be sitting here with a stubby screwdriver, which a lot of these are really tight, and you're trying to break those loose, or you can get one of these 90s like this, like so. Okay, so let's say you have a drawer that is touching on the right but not touching on the left, or vice versa. It's touching on the left but it has a gap on the right whenever it closes. Generally, that's going to mean that your track is setting off to this side or to this side like so. It could also be the track on the bottom of your drawer as well that's out of adjustment. This track's always going to be the easiest one to make adjustments to because you just pull a screw out, make a little bit of adjustment, put the screw back in, set the drawer in, it should close perfectly. Just remember, whenever you're making adjustments to this track, left or right, a small movement makes a big difference in what kind of gap you have up here. Because even though you're only moving it this much, that may convert out to a 1/4 inch gap out here, if that makes sense. Now, a lot of the time you can just get away with pulling the screw out of the back of the track, making a small adjustment, shutting the drawer, and it'll fit perfectly. But there are some cases where you're going to need to pull the screw out of the front and make adjustments there. You just always want to start with making your adjustments on the rear of the track first. If you make an adjustment on the front of the track, what you're going to run into, making adjustments on the front of the track is going to move the drawer like this. So that's really the only time you want to adjust the front of the track is if all your drawers are not setting in line. If you need it to go this direction or this direction to line up, then you make an adjustment on the front of the track. If you need it to change the angle so that it shuts properly, you make an adjustment on the rear of the track. Okay, our next adjustment. Let's say you have a drawer that is sitting like this or sitting like this. It's crooked. It shuts all the way. It's touching on all four sides whenever it closes, but it's kind of sitting cattywampus. That's going to come down to these little pieces right here. Let me show you what those look like. It's just plastic with a nail in it that they hammered in. Now, there's lots of different versions of this little piece. There are some that are flat. They go this way and they go up the side a little bit. Keeps the drawer squared so it's not touching the wood here or touching the wood here. There's some just like this that are round. There are some that are round that are metal. There are some that are squares or rectangles that go down here. So if you get into your piece and it doesn't have this exact one, don't freak out. They all do the same thing. Now, a lot of the times it's as simple as a fix as one of these is missing. So you just hop online, find another one, or run down to your hardware store, find another one that's similar size, pop it in there. Now, for some reason you can't find one of these with the exact same thickness, you can always buy a thicker one and start sanding down the top till you get to the thickness you need. Now, like I said, most of the time what you're going to run into is just one of these is missing. Either it's missing completely or there's just a nail in the place of where the plastic used to be because the plastic broke off the top of it. In that case, just replace it, your drawer will set level again, you're all good. Now, in an older piece with a lot of use, what you're going to run into is, what you'll see is this wood is completely worn down from years of use, sliding back and forth. It's just ate away at the wood. Now, you could cut that out and completely replace it. If it's bad enough, yeah, you're gonna have to do that. But most of the time, it's just worn down enough to make it wobble and sit uneven. Then all you have to do is pop this one out, get you a thicker one to make up for the worn out spot in the wood, stick it in there, all good. I've even seen some pieces come from the factory with these double stacked to make the drawer set perfect. I don't necessarily like it. I mean, it works. It's been on there for years, so I can't say that it doesn't work. But I'd rather just put a thicker one in there. And if I have to, like I said, I can sand it down a little bit if I need to make some fine tweaks to it to make it sit just absolutely perfect. So that's how you adjust the drawer to make it sit straight if it's sitting off one side or the other this direction. And let me cover this one more time just because I don't think I was very clear about it. If you have a dresser and you're looking down all the drawers and they're not sitting in a perfectly straight line all the way up, first go through and move some drawers around and see if just one's out of place before you start making adjustments to see if you can get them to all the line up. I know that can be a pain, and I've got a dresser before that had 12 identical drawers in it, and I sat there playing the puzzle game for like an hour, moving them around until they all set right. But the reason I say that is if this drawer's not setting right and it belongs somewhere else, and you go to adjust this one, that means somewhere else there's a drawer that's not sitting correctly as well that maybe you're not noticing, but your buyer may notice, or it may end up with issues later on down the road. So I'd always check that first. Now again, if your drawer's setting off to one side or the other and it closes perfectly, you may just need to move this whole track over just a tiny bit. Now sometimes what you'll run into is if you need to make a very small adjustment, what you're going to run into is when you pull this screw out, you try to make the small adjustment and you put the screw back in, the screw wants to go back to the original hole. In that case, sometimes what you have to do is re-drill for a new screw hole. Just go back a little bit further or go forward a little bit from your original screw hole and go down. That way it's not trying to slip back into the old hole. Now, if that's not an option, what you can do is go through and fill the original hole, let it dry, and then come back through, move your screw over a little bit, and then try to put it in just, a 1/16 of an inch to one side. But in most cases, you just drill a hole a little bit further back, make an adjustment, screw it in, you're all good. I do like to recess my holes down. I'll show you the bit I use for that. I do like to use a bit like this so that the screw recesses down. Now on a track like this that has a groove down in it, it's not that big of a deal to have that recessed hole. But if you have a flat track and you try to put a screw on the top of it, more than likely your drawer is going to drag that screw. So you want to use something like this to recess the hole just a hair, just so that screw isn't sitting high enough that it's dragging as the drawer opens and shuts and causing more issues. Now another email I get all the time is, I have this drawer that comes all the way out. There's nothing to stop it from coming out. You go to open it and it falls out. Show you how to fix that. So I got this drawer, I go to open it, it comes all the way out and it falls out. Now there's a few things you want to check first. If you have a wood track, you want to pull the drawer out and see if it ever had a little metal tab or has a little notch and screw hole for a little metal tab here in the front. If it's missing it, just get online, order it, problem solved. You see this little bump right here? That little metal tab will hit that bump and stop it from coming out. But if you need to take the drawer out completely, it's spring loaded, so you just put a little pressure on it and it bops past that, you can take the drawer out completely. But that's what'll stop. These pieces never had that little metal tab on it. The tracks all seem to be built with that spot in them, just in case you do have one. Now, if this track is metal, more than likely you had a drawer guide, a plastic piece that went on the back here that grabs around that metal track, and there's usually a plastic piece that sits right up the front. The plastic piece on the rear of this drawer kind of reaches around with fingers and it holds this track as it's opening, and when it gets to this front plastic piece, it causes tension so it doesn't come out easy. Now again, it's set up the same way. You can bonk it a little bit, it'll pull past it, you can take the drawer completely out. Now if that's your case, like I said, I put a link to that video earlier on how to replace those. That'll fix a lot of your problems. So you don't have the metal tab that makes it stop. You don't have a metal track with the drawer guide on it that has a stop built into it. Your dresser you're messing with right now is very similar to this one, and there's just nothing there that stops the drawer from coming out all the way. Let me show you what you can do. Now this is called drawer stop. Most of your hardware stores will have them. You can also get them off of Amazon. Now a lot of your furniture will come with these, they just broke off over time. So what you want to do is take that drawer out and look around the rim here and see if you see any place there's a screw hole where it could have been originally. If that's the case, just locate that screw hole, put this piece on, you're all good to go. Now if that's not the case, it's just completely up to you where you want to put it, what works best for you. Now a lot of times your easiest solution with this, see how it has that lip right there? This is where your screw goes through. You can take that lip, put it right on the edge right here, and screw it in. Now what'll happen is whenever you go to open the drawer, it'll hit that little tab and stop. Now if you ever need to take the drawer out, you just reach up in here, push it up, and pull the drawer out. Now there's some situations putting the tab on the top won't always work. You may have a drawer front that's this width, and your framing is sitting right here, but the drawer is cut down low. So you put this up there, you can still open the drawer because of course there's nothing here for it to hit because this has been cut down low. Now in that case, if the back of your drawer has a lip just like this, so there's something for it to catch on, you may have to put it in the bottom of your drawer like so. So whenever you go to open the drawer, it catches the back. Again, the same thing, if you ever had to take it out, you're going to have to be able to get in here to push this down to bypass it past the screw. There are a lot of hutches for some reason that are set up this way with the drawer stop on the bottom. Every time I post a video of repurposing a hutch, I always get a ton of comments or emails asking how we got the drawers out. They say it comes out and then it just stops. There's no way to take it all the way out. It's because this is on the bottom and it's hidden where you can't see it. Take a flathead screwdriver or something, put it underneath there, and I guarantee you'll feel where it's at. Then you just push it down and you'll be able to get the drawer out. Now there is one more situation that I ran into in the past where I wanted to put these in to stop the drawers from coming all the way out. But on this old piece, the drawers set inside the framing, not in front of it. So of course with the drawer setting inside the framing, you can't just take and put that there. You'll be able to see it and it's going to interfere with the drawer opening and shutting. There really was nowhere to put it inside because past the framing, everything dropped back about 1.5 inches. So what I ended up doing on that piece was I just took a little 2-inch block of wood, stuck it up inside the framing where it didn't interfere with the drawer, but I had a place to attach this. Then I attached this to the block of the wood and it still hung down enough to grab the door and stop it while it's coming out. So like I said, I've only ran into that one time. I have seen a bunch of antique pieces that don't use tracks. They just have floating drawers and people want to stop them from coming out. It's probably going to be about the same thing. You're probably going to need to add a block of wood somewhere to attach this to. Now what I see a lot is these will come from Amazon like this. So of course when you go to attach it, it has no chance in the world of actually catching the drawer. Sometimes you just got to take these things. I don't know if it's heat or the way the factory did it, but sometimes you just got to take these things, bend them a little bit so they'll actually grab the drawer whenever it's coming by. And then again, you just push it up, pull the drawer out to bypass it. And there's lots of different styles of these. Some of these don't have this funky bend on the end to make it easy for the drawer to bypass. Some of them are just even thinner than this and they're just a curved flap that grabs. So, but anyways, they all do the same thing. It's just called a drawer stop. All right, guys, I think I covered every adjustment you can make on one of these. Now, if I happen to miss something, leave a comment down below. I will try to get it put into the next video I make like this. Now my clothes are literally completely drenched in sweat. So I'm going to go inside and take a shower and put on some dry clothes. We'll see you on the next flip. Let me introduce you to Houdini, one of my favorites at the rescue. He's been there for quite a while, so I'm trying to get him seen as much as possible, so if y'all could help out by sharing, that would be amazing. Houdini is a Great Pyrenees mix. They're estimating to be about 2. He walks amazing on a leash. Most of the time, as you'll see here in a second, he keeps slack in the leash. He's amazing people and kids, and even at the events, other dogs have came up right to the tip of his nose. He doesn't even acknowledge them. Now, Houdini did get his name by being an escape artist, so if you do adopt him, you need to have a tall chain link or wood fence. But honestly, I think he just needs to find his home and his people, and I don't think that would be an issue. If you're interested in adopting Houdini, he's at the Apollo Sport and Rescue here in Justin, Texas. Apollo will deliver to the Pacific Northwest if you're not local, so you're looking at Washington, Utah, Idaho, and around that area. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next flip.